Hello and welcome. Hello and welcome to the March 4th edition of Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder, the most hardcore motorsports program on the internet. This is episode 202 of the series. Tonight, we'll be previewing this weekend at Palm Beach International Raceway, talking about other upcoming events, talking movies, and discussing whatever other racing news pops into the conversation. Pindar Films is proud to announce that the 90-minute documentary Become Who You Are, featuring Scott Dixon, Bruno Senna, Memo Rojas, and Jules Gualnan, is now available worldwide.
Directed and produced by Virginie Dulauroy, the film that follows the lives of 4 international racing drivers on and off the track is now available on Amazon Prime Video USA, UK, Germany, and Japan, or Claro Video in all Latin America, Mexico, Brazil, Colombia, Argentina, and more, with a presence in 19 countries of Latin America and on Vimeo on demand worldwide. In January 2021, Become Who You Are won 4 awards at the Vegas Movie Awards.
Become Who You Are takes you behind the scenes, on track and off, in a unique, fast-paced, and intimate documentary, so viewers can appreciate what it takes to race and compete at the famous 24 Hours of Le Mans in France. In a couple of moments, we'll welcome Virginie Dulauroy to the program. She's going to be talking a little bit more about her new film, as well as what it takes to run in Le Mans and what she learned while interviewing the drivers and competitors. There was some news about Le Mans today, where Le Mans was moved until I believe it's August of this year, so it doesn't compete with other racing events. They also want to try and bring spectators back to the race after it's been after it wasn't available for spectators last season. Now, that's going to be a great thing. Hopefully they have a lot of spectators and they allowed at the race. It all depends on how the virus is slowed down by then. But we'll mention that a little bit more a little bit later in the show. Again, we're standing by for Virginie Dulauroy. I'm trying to get her on the line here. She's having some difficulties, but we are trying the best we can. We're allowed to have a little bit of the gremlins here and there. It happens sometimes, and we will try our best to get Virginie online. Again, there were some announcements today about Le Mans being rescheduled for the fall. That also impacted the IMSA schedule, which I will be posting information about tomorrow morning. It's going to be an interesting season as well as last season was. Hopefully there'll be a lot of news on the front about racing this year, but due to COVID-19 restrictions, there are different changes happening in the NASCAR season as well as the sports car seasons. So we should be used to that by now. And there'll be more news coming in the coming days. Again, hopefully she's able to connect here. We're going to give it a few more minutes. And while we're standing by, let's go ahead and try hit one of our little musical buttons and hit Crazy. This is from Ron Pastana and the pit crew. Well, it says here that Virginie has entered the live studio, but unfortunately we are unable to chat with her right now. Just another one of those little gremlin things that's happened to pop up here and there and everywhere. So, I'm sorry for a little bit of silence here on our end at the Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder, but we are having a little bit of a connection issue here, and I'm trying to sort through it. So let's go ahead and see if we can get this going. Right now, I'm thinking that we'll probably end up having Virginie Dulauroy on the program next week, or possibly in a couple weeks. Hopefully, we can get this figured out. It is a different system for us, as I said before, and we are trying to get the bugs out. It seems to be working better than it did overall on Blog Talk Radio, but this kind of stuff does happen, and it's one of those growing pains of the channel type thing. It's not really a big deal. Again, her movie is a fabulous film. Become Who You Are is available on Vimeo as well as on Amazon Prime. We did watch it on Amazon Prime Video. It was an awesome thing. So kind of cool to see how that goes. I know that the interview she did with Chip Ganassi took place roughly 1 year ago this week. As a big part of the movie, and you'll have to see it to hear more about that. So we'll go ahead and try and reschedule her for next week and see how that goes. Maybe the following week. Again, it's just a little bit of a growing pains issue here, a little bit of a connection problem. It's one of those things that happens, and if you're a longtime listener to the show, you're aware that sort of thing happens here and every so. Again, she's connected and she is in the studio. So if you have any questions for her and you happen to be listening in this evening, go ahead and send her a message in the chat, and I'm sure she'll be able to answer a couple of your questions. If not, go ahead and save them for later, and we'll try and get her on the show in a couple of minutes. Are you a race car driver, crew chief, pit member, track owner? Maybe you're just a huge fan of the sport. Contact either Mykkal Mulalley-Kapalo or myself to get your spot on the show. After all, you deserve your 15 minutes of fame, and we'd definitely love to hear from you.
Palm Beach International Raceway will host the Pro Winter Warm-Up for the first time since 2015, featuring ground-pounding NHRA drag racing series, Top Fuel dragsters, and Nitro funny cars. Over a dozen of the top professional NHRA teams, including 9 current or former world champions, head to PBIR this weekend, March 5th through the 7th. NHRA teams will use the test session, which is open to the public with limited tickets available each day to prepare for the 2021 season opening event in Gainesville, Florida.
NHRA Camping World Drag Series teams scheduled to participate in the March 5th through 7th preseason test session include Don Schumacher Racing, which consists of Ron Capstan, Tron Brown, Leah Pruitt, and Matt Hagan. John Force Racing, which consists of John Force, Robert Height, and Brittany Force. Florida Motorsports, which consists of Doug Fletta, J.R. Todd, and John Langdon. Torrance Racing, consisting of Steve Torrance and Billy Torrance. Other competitors will include Cruz Pendragon Racing with Cruz Pendragon, Alexis DeJoria Del Huerto Racing with Alexis DeJoria, Justin Ashley Racing, driven of course by Justin Ashley, Grappers Racing with Mike Salinas, Tasca Racing, Bob Tasca III, Paul Lee Racing with Paul Lee, and Head Racing, Blake Alexander Racing, featuring.
This is the only South Florida appearance for the Sorry. This is the only South Florida appearance for the stars and cars of the NHRA Drag Racing Series. Adult general admission tickets are $25 Friday, $35 Saturday, and $35 Sunday. A Saturday/Sunday combo ticket is $60. Children 12 and under are free. Parking is $10. Every ticket is a pit pass, giving you unparalleled access to the teams and drivers. This family-friendly 3-day test session provides guests the opportunity to get up close to the top teams in the NHRA.
We're going to go ahead and try and have Virginie join us here in a couple of months. Hopefully she gets it figured out. I'm going to try using a telephone now. She says she's super stressed out. She shouldn't be super stressed out. It's one of those sort of things that happens. We'll see if it goes. If it doesn't go, then that's fine. And I'm sure that she's had other interviews in the past year that have been just as kind of weird as this is, but hopefully it works. Let's go ahead and see if we can get her connected. Hello, are you on the line now?
Yes, hello, it's Virginie.
Awesome. Thank you for putting up with us. We know we've got it's kind of difficult to connect this sometimes, but we're new to this platform as well, so we're glad you were able to get through.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I'm sorry. So I did install it on my laptop, but it wasn't working. So I tried to install it from my iPhone, but then anyway, it was too long. So my husband was faster than me, so I'm calling with my husband phone. So sorry about that.
It's not at all. First off, how did you first become interested in the world of auto racing?
So okay, let me breathe first. I mean, so I would say it actually happened kind of in 2 steps. So when I was a kid, I was really interested in driving, not in racing, but I loved to play with model cars, and I like to pretend that I was driving an imaginary car around the house, this kind of stuff. And then I got my driving license a few years later, and I was always driving. Like there was no way for other people to drive when I was around. So finally, I ended up becoming a driving instructor for my living. So I would say that was the first step. But then I really entered the world of motor racing in 2014. So actually in 2010, I opened a video company because I loved filming too, but it was more a passion. It was not really a work, but I really enjoyed it. So I opened a video company. But I was mainly filming concerts and gigs or weddings, not motor racing. But all kicked off in 2014. I received a message from someone called Chris McMurray, who is an American driver too. And he was looking for someone to film his son, Matt McMurray, who was doing his debut in France in the ELMS. And he was about to become, at that time, the youngest driver to ever race and compete at the 24 Hour of Le Mans. So Matt was 16, only 16. So I told Chris, I remember that time, I was like, oh, wow, I would love to film racing, but I have absolutely no knowledge on that. And he went, oh, I'm sure you'll do great and just come at the track. And so I was living in the south of France, close actually to the Paul Ricard racetrack. So I went there, I filmed, I enjoyed it a lot. And Chris was really pleased with the video. So then he hired me to do the full European Le Mans series with them, Le Mans as well. And that's how I really entered the motor racing world. So after that, I just stopped all other filming, like the concert, the corporate videos. I just stopped. I just focused only on motor racing because I just loved it. Like it was like something. So I hope it answered to your question.
Mm-hmm. When did you come up with the idea for Become Who You Are?
For the title, you mean?
No, for the film. When did you come up with the idea for it?
Oh, okay. So since 2014, I've been filming in most of the endurance series. So ELMS, WEG, Blancpain, IMSA, a lot of series. And each time I was, seeing the driver in the garage, or even in the truck, getting ready, warming up, and a lot of stuff that we don't see when we are in the grandstands. So it was really something I felt so fortunate to be able to witness that I wanted to show it to everybody. I felt like I wanted to share that privilege with everybody. So that's how I came with that idea to do Become Who You Are.
And how long did it take you to complete the film from the first thought until it got released?
Mm-hmm. So the idea came to me in February 2019. I was preparing my season actually in WEC, and I was like, "Oh, I could do more than just highlight video for teams. I want to do more." And so I started to contact drivers around March, April. I've had some meeting with them at Spa also, and we started. So the project started, let's say, in February 2019, and then we started to film in June at Le Mans 24. And then it took about a year to complete all the filming and editing sides. And then, so the film was completed in June 2020. And then we started with the distribution. As you can imagine, it was tricky with COVID. Everything kind of shut down, the cinemas, the airlines. So it was kind of the tricky part. So the film then was released, as you know, in November on Amazon. So I would say it took about a year and a half to make the whole thing from the beginning to the release.
And how did making this film give you a different perspective on motor racing?
I wouldn't say that it gave me a different perspective on motor racing, because I actually knew all the work and sacrifices that the driver are going through in order to succeed, and I wanted to show that through the documentary. But I would say that it taught me a lot. I've been able to witness the never give up mindset that all these drivers have in common. And, at some point in their career, all these drivers, they had the possibility to give up because of maybe an accident, or maybe some budget issues, or a disease, but they never gave up. And so when I was filming that film, I would say that the film didn't give me a different perspective on motor racing, but it taught me a new mindset to have in my life in general. That's what. So it's kind of a different perspective, but it's more for in general or in life, like kind of a lesson of life, I would say, rather than a new perspective on motor racing itself.
Of all the drivers you've had the chance to meet in the past 7 years or so, who's your favorite?
Mm-hmm. That's a tricky one. It's hard to tell because, as you said, I've been working with a lot of drivers, and some are very talented and gifted. I would say that the one that impressed me the most during the last few years, I would say, was Thomas Laurent. So he's a French driver, and he went from the LMP3 category to the LMP1 in just a blink of an eye. And for his first attempt to the 24 Hour of Le Mans, he finished second overall with the LMP2 car and with his teammates, which was kind of phenomenal. And I was able to be here and film that and witness that. So I would say that I don't have a favorite driver, but I would say that he was the one that impressed me the most. But if I have to say a name of a favorite driver, it's tough. There's a lot. I like Memo Rojas a lot. because he's a very complete athlete and also a very nice person on track and off the track. So I would say maybe these two. But honestly, there's so many good drivers that I like. It's a tough question.
Mm-hmm. Well, let me go ahead and throw you out to my co-host, Mykkal Mulalley-Kapalo, who has some questions for you as well.
Okay. Hi.
Hi. So my first question for you tonight, how did you decide which drivers to base the film on?
So it was okay. So basically, I had the idea to make a film with like one gentleman driver, one driver from Formula One from IndyCar, a rookie driver. You know, kind of to have kind of a representative. I don't know how to say in English, but a good panel of the drivers that we can see on racetrack. You know, but then I changed kind of a little bit my idea, because if I was doing that, then the film would have lasted 2 or 3 hours, or maybe I could have done like a mini series with different episodes, but it would have been too long. So I had to make some choice. So some choice were my heart choice, people that I really like and value a lot. And some other were because they are really tremendous driver, like Scott Dixon. It was just phenomenal to be able to show his story. So that's how I decided. So Bruno Senna was linked to Ayrton Senna, and I feel like a lot of racing fans really like Ayrton Senna, even now, 26 years after his death. So, and Bruno had a really terrific story to tell. He was really, really close to his uncle. So, and all the legacy and the heritage was, I think, a good story to tell. And then Scott Dixon, of course, I think it's obvious. He's now a 6-time IndyCar champion, and in every car he jumps in, he's doing great. So I think he was a really good driver to have. And Memo, I had the chance to work with him for the last couple of years. So he was actually the first one to jump in the project, because when I came with that idea, I wasn't sure, like, should I do it or not? And so I reached out to him and I was like, if I do that, are you in? And he was like, yeah, let's go for it. And so I would say he helped me to take this project to life. And Jules Gounon, so he's a French driver. So I thought it was important to have a French driver at the 24 Hours of Le Mans. But also he was a rookie driver. So it was his first attempt. So I felt like they had nice story to tell. But a lot of drivers have really good story to tell. But at some point I had to make some choice, difficult choice. But that's how I ended up with the 4 of them.
Okay, of course. And then when it came to gathering the information for the movie, how did you select the information that you were going to highlight in the film?
So sometimes the driver have a lot in common. Sometimes I felt like if I was telling everything, because I had to cut a lot, and if I was telling everything, it would have been a bit repetitive. So I had to select really the most how can I say the most important thing they had to share or to tell. So, for example, for Jules, I would say it was his disease at his legs and how he just went through that and carry on, and and just did it. And for Memo, it was how he broke out of Mexico, found some sponsor, and ended up racing internationally and having great results. So for each of them, it was hard, actually. Once I had all this information, it was hard to cut in it and just keep what I wanted to highlight. But I tried to build the film so people understand that there's a lot going on. For some people, it's the family. For some people, there's some budget issue and whatever. But I really wanted to highlight all the things the driver goes through, that they just don't jump in the car and race. Like it's because that's the glamorous part we see when we are in the grandstand or just watching a race on TV. I wanted to highlight really all the aspects of the driver, what they go through in order to be able to succeed and compete. So the editing part was a long part, especially. I had to cut some part I didn't want to cut, but at some point you have to really keep the most important thing, the thing you want to remember.
And with all of the components that it took to put the film together, what was the toughest part about the film coming together?
Mm-hmm. It was, as I told you earlier, as I said, it was, we had to do a lot of choice and stuff. And so I would say with COVID, I would say it's the toughest part I remember, because once the film was all put together, I felt like, okay, it's done. Like I did it. I felt like I reached the point where, okay, now nothing wrong can happen. and actually suddenly we couldn't distribute it. And it was like, honestly, I would say the distribution was the toughest part, because basically it was supposed to be on the airlines. We were supposed to have a release at the theater, and it was supposed to be released worldwide, and so many things that didn't happen because the world kind of stopped working suddenly. So the airlines said, "Oh, we don't have flight anymore, so we are not going to invest in this," and the theaters, they all closed. So it was kind of now I'm laughing because it's the past and the film is out and everything is going well. But honestly, I felt like I was going to put my film in a trash, and that was it. So that was the toughest part, the distribution.
And if you had to describe the film in one word, what word would you use to describe your film?
That's a hard one. One word. I would say passion. I just said one word. It's hard for me to say just one word. But yeah, I would say passion.
And then if my final question for you this evening, do you have any more projects in the works?
Yes. I can say one word here too. So yes, there's more projects. At the moment, I cannot tell. It's kind of secret. But you will know probably very soon. I would say in the coming months, we'll be able to say more.
Well, we'd like to thank you very much for coming on the show this evening. It was a
Thank you.
Great to have you on here, and great to hear a little bit more about how you came up with the idea for the film. If my audience is interested in more information, what would be the best place for them to go?
Oh, sorry, I did not hear.
If my audience is interested in more information about the movie, where would be the best place for them to find that?
Oh, thank you. Yes.
Cool. Well, once again, we'd like to thank you and
Thank you.
Hope to have you on the show again when you announce your next project.
Oh, sorry, I don't hear you well now. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. Once again, we'd like to thank you for being on the show. And
thank you so much,
and thank you when you have your next project.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me. And when we'll have a new project, of course, you'll be the first to know.
Once again, that was Virginie Dulauroy, and we'd like to thank her again for having me on the show tonight. Really good to have her on the show, and it was nice for her to be able to connect through her husband's phone, even though since she couldn't connect it through her laptop. And again, we're hoping to talk to her in the future. We're going to keep it a rather short program this evening. We've got some other stuff going on, but we'd like to thank you again for joining us tonight. Be sure to check out past episodes of Thursday Night Thunder, as well as the other shows on the Speedway Digest Radio Network at speedwaydigest.podbean.com. Also check out the show on Facebook by searching for Speedway Digest Thursday Night Thunder in the search bar. I also invite you to read the articles covering all aspects of motorsports at speedwaydigest.com. In addition, if you're a fan of South Florida, and who isn't, be sure to check out the latest news and information about our slice of paradise at my site, Football Fantastic Finds. It can be found on Facebook, Twitter, and by heading to footballfantasticfinds.wordpress.com.
Thank you for listening, and we look forward to seeing you again next week in the Thunderdome as we discuss the major issues in world of modern auto racing.
Thanks again, and we'll talk to you next week.